Hello, welcome to the short presentation about an exciting bonus for first home buyers in Victoria and why it particularly appeals to nurses. We're going to cover off what has changed, importantly what it means for you, what to do next, and why you should act right now to make the most of this bonus. So what's changed? Well, from the 1st of July 2017, the Victorian State Government has recently announced that all stamp duty will be scrapped for first home buyers in Victoria. That applies to any property under the value of $600,000, there'll be zero stamp duty. So what does this mean for you? There are two hurdles that I come across for people buying their first property. The first is the borrowing capacity, how much the bank will lend them to purchase the property. And the second aspect is the upfront deposit. How are you going to arrange those initial funds to fund that property? For nurses though, working with many in the past, borrowing capacity is never an issue. If you've been nursing for more than 1 or 2 years even, you should be able to borrow enough from the bank to buy that first property. The question is the upfront deposit. That's always the main hurdle for people. On that deposit hurdle, the reason it is so hard, the bank has its deposit requirements. You've got big costs to pay up front like stamp duty, legal costs, inspection costs, property inspection, building inspection and so on, and other incidental costs which might come up, things like moving costs and things like that, and it all needed to be funded. For example, for a $450,000 property, banks vary a lot here, depending on the borrower and who the bank is and what their policies are, and we need to get through to that. But for some banks on a $450,000 property, they require up to a $90,000 deposit, so it's pretty much impossible for most first home buyers. Some though require as little as $22,500 and even less in some circumstances. And then there's been the stamp duty on a $450,000 property. For a first home buyer, that's been around $10,000. The other costs are about $3,000 you would allow for conveyancing fees and so on. And there's the other costs which vary a lot per purchaser. But the great news is with this bonus, the stamp duty is being scrapped, which makes that deposit hurdle so much easier to get over. So what do we do next? The first thing is to do an upfront financial assessment for your own circumstances. And in my work, there are 3 big questions that people always need answered. One is how much they can borrow. The second one is what price can I buy the property for? What price range can I buy into? And how much will it cost me to repay that loan? For how much can I borrow? The way that is assessed is I always get an upfront what's called a credit file. We'll go into more details in our further discussions. Look at your gross earnings, and if you're buying with a partner, for example, that's the combined gross earnings and combined credit files as well. What the joint living expenses are, and any other debts you might have like HECS and car loans, etc. all need to take into account to work out what our borrowing capacity is, and that varies a lot by banks, and particularly for nurses earning different types of shift allowances and weekend work and overtime and so on. The earnings are really different per different bank, so it's really important to find the right bank that suits our nurses' income. From there, we work from the borrowing capacity, we work out what price you can buy the property for. And that depends on your own funds that you can contribute, but also funds from other sources. Often, for example, a parent might be able to give a short-term loan or even a contribution to the deposit. So we would work through all that with you. And then importantly, how much will it cost to repay? Well, that varies quite a bit by bank and by interest rate, obviously. But a rule of thumb here, at current interest rates, for a $400,000 mortgage, your repayments are around $880 per fortnight. Most nurses that I work with prefer to pay by fortnight because of course that's how often you get paid, and it's much cheaper for you and lots of savings than repaying just monthly. So that's just a rule of thumb, but again we would get into that if we work through a loan with you. So the first step after that is to get the pre-approved finance after that initial assessment. So that really is as good as money in the bank, and it's key for you going to auctions and being able to put in offers on properties. If you're buying out of auction, you do need that pre-approved finance in place to give you that strongest bargaining position, and you can't really bid at an auction without knowing that your finance is in place. So it's as good as money in the bank, because once that finance is approved, you can then go and use that to buy your property without worrying about the financial side. So the way we do that, once we've done that preliminary financial assessment. We work through and select the right lender and the right product for you. We decide whether you'd like to apply or not, given what we've worked through, and we then work with you, get the application in, and do all the liaising to make sure that it's all approved by the bank, so you can then go and buy that first property. Now, the reason to do it now is that pre-approvals do take a little bit of time. It's as good as a loan approval, and so to be ready for the 1st of July, when the stamp duty is scrapped, you do want to act now. And particularly with what's going to happen, there's going to be a flood of people coming into the market in July. Already, when the government announced this change in early March, people have held off and aren't going to be buying properties, their first properties, until July. But there's going to be a flood of people. I know that in my day-to-day work and just talking to various banks at the moment. So there's going to be lots of new buyers coming, and the key is to be ready first. A lot of people won't be yet thinking about this. They'll be thinking they'll wait till July and then start to get the finance in order. The key is to have it all pre-approved now, so you're ready on the 1st of July to actually go and buy at auction or buy properties from that first week. I think there's going to be about a 4 to 6 week window, because most people will start to think about this in July, start to get their pre-approvals going by then. So we've got about a month to a month and a half ahead, and we want to be in that position because you don't want to be competing with too many people all coming in looking for the same types of first properties in the market. So you want to be ahead of that game. That's why you should act now. Where to from here? Do contact me to go through this in further detail, and we'll talk through your situation and whether you'd like to go ahead and get a pre-approval arranged. There's my contact details. My name's Tim Boyle. You can contact me directly on my mobile number. I've got an office number, but it's nice just to know that you can contact me directly anytime, and I'll get back to you if I don't answer my phone on weekends and nights, but I do monitor it, so I will get back to you as soon as I can. I know your shift work is pretty much around the clock, and so I try to work with my nursing clients in particular as much as possible on that, or just pop me a quick email to that address, info@finfin.com.au. What we'll talk about then is I will do a complimentary assessment for you, answer those 3 big questions: what your borrowing capacity is for your situation, how much you could therefore buy a property for, and how much your repayments would be given those parameters that we've worked through. From there you can make a decision whether to go ahead or not, so there's no commitment at that point at all, and then we would decide yes, you'd like to go ahead, get that finance in place, get that pre-approval so you can hit the market on the 1st of July. For going through this, I'd like to offer you a book that I wrote, particularly written for first home buyers, all around escaping the rental trap. You don't want to be in a rental trap for the rest of your life by any stretch. And the amazing thing about a rental trap, the longer you stay a renter, the harder it is to get out and buy the property, because as we know, prices are always going up, property prices, and it's harder and harder to be chasing that market. So the key is to do it as early as possible in your life, and so you've got that first property under your belt and join the ownership rather than the tenants ladder. And this book is written especially for that, all around buying your property in first simple steps. We cover financing, but it covers the whole deal, how to find the right type of property for you, and so on. So if you'd like a copy of that book, by all means do contact me, and I'd love to give you that just to help you get started as well. So I'm Tim Boyle, there's my contact details, and really look forward to meeting you to get that first property, get that pre-approval in place before the 1st of July so you can get it one step ahead of the market and make use of this amazing bonus for first home buyers in Victoria. Thank you. Bye bye.